In fact, I think somebody mentioned it. Finally, they fixed it.
You on? Okay.
Oh, good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, because when I watch it, I miss a lot of whatever, so. Okay.
Thanks.
He said we were good, Chelsea. Okay, so we're 9 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. And pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have Mike, Ted, Kathy, Sam, and a new member, Doug, which I'm going to get to in a minute. Just want to make sure Greg is still in Iowa, so he's excused.
He requests, so Doug and
Bob.
sorry, bear with me, both requested an excused absence
Okay.
for today.
Thank you.
That's
Greg and Bob.
Greg,
Greg.
Greg?
What did I say? Who did I say?
Greg and Bob
Sorry.
requested an excused absence, so
Yes.
they are excused. Okay.
Who's the-
We are to reorganization because it's the first meeting after we have
Appointments.
new appointments. And before we do that, though, I wonder if Doug might give us, since you're a new member.
Little housekeeping, just make sure when you speak that the light on your thing is green. You don't have to push anything, just that way we make sure the transcriptionist is picking up, and then identify yourself for them, please.
You might just tell us a few sentences about who you are.
Absolutely. And I see it's green. My name is Doug Ekman. I live at 120 Sable Drive. We've lived on the beach since 2007. We bought the house there and gradually renovating it. I'm still work full-time. I'm a professional environmental engineer and mostly involved with water and wastewater type projects, but interested in anything that has any impact on the environment, especially Estero Bay. And I saw this opening, and I thought it would be a chance to kind of get involved and, offer my whatever guidance I can to the town, which is great. So I kind of took the opportunity to apply to be.
Welcome. Thanks for your interest in helping us. Appreciate it. Okay, we need to have start with nomination for chair.
I'd nominate Kathy to continue as chair.
Second.
Are there further nominations? And I guess nominations cease. Kathy Light has been nominated for chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Nominations for vice chair. I nominate Sam Lurie.
Second.
And by Mike. Are there further nominations for vice chair?
Yes, Sam Lurie. I'd like to nominate Mike Ratliff.
I second.
Not sure he's willing to do it.
Are there further nominations? So we have a nomination for Sam Lurie. We have a nomination for Mike Ratliff. In that case,
We know whether Mr. Ratliff is willing to serve.
I would respectfully decline at this time because I may have future plans that would cause me to miss some of the meetings.
I'm willing to serve.
okay.
If elected.
Okay, so Mike Ratliff has declined to serve. So we have one nomination of Sam Lurie. Are there any further nominations? All in favor for Sam Lurie for vice chair? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. You can miss meetings, you know. But that's okay. I understand. Okay, so we have some public. Do we have public comment at this time? Okay, welcome. All right, let's go ahead to approval of the minutes for September 16th.
Lowell, you can take the question mark off whether I seconded something I did.
Oh. Okay. Was there still a question? Was there a question mark if you seconded it? Okay, all right. Any comments or questions about the minutes of September 16th? If not, do we have a motion to approve them?
Ratliff, I approve we accept the minutes as presented.
Or
Second
Okay,
by Sam.
second by Sam. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Moving right along. Mooring field and staff report.
Staff report is Austin Gilchrist, Harbor Master for the record. Pump outs, everything resumes. We're transitioning over to an all digital check-in system, and that'll be through the online system as well. We're also working with our DACWA program to do purchases for the tickets through DACWA and get revenue stream through that as well. Let's see what else. We've worked on 3 delinquents this month. We've got 3 delinquents in the field as far as payments go. I think one of those we've had to do a call out to because of the line of neglect to the boat. We've had to go and retie the line and resecure it. We did make contact with that owner, and we're in the process of working out a resolution one way or another with getting that resolved. As far as the other 2 boats go, we monitor them monthly. We board them and make sure they're not taking on water or anything like that. What else was it? We did recover 1 dinghy that was going, a wet slip was, it just didn't have a contact number, anybody I could get a hold of to come out and get the boat out of the water. So we went ahead and pulled the boat. And actually today we're putting it and securing it onto the bow of that vessel. We don't have the means to store these dinghies here, so we're just relocating them back onto the boats with line that the town is providing. Other than that, we've been working with LCSO. We've made 2 calls to them this week trying to just get information on the Anchorage field and any reports or anything like that that have been filed in that over the last month to try to get the records on that. I think what I'm going to do is just file a public records request for that area and to get a report on what is accumulating on citations or anything that may be happening in the Anchorage field that is west of the bridge there. We did have a meeting with Matanzas to go over some of the issues with the new system and with transitioning over to DACWA. I think we'll probably go more into depth about that in a little while. And right now we are undertaking our cleaning and inspections of the field or of the systems right now. We just completed the front field as far as vacant systems. As of today and tomorrow, we'll start cleaning all the systems and inspecting them that have vessels on them. And then we're going to be moving to the backfield next week to go through and pull those systems, clean them, inspect them, and put them back in, and then do the cleaning and inspecting under the water with the ones that do have the vessels on it. Other than that, we answered 2 calls to the field for vessels that were reporting taking on water during earlier in the month when we had higher rains. Turns out one just had Tupperware, empty Tupperware containers on board that collected water and weighed the boat down, so that one was addressed. And then the other one was he just had too much weight on the deck, and then when it rained, that again added too much weight and it dropped the water line. So the boats around it were concerned these vessels were taking on water. Sea tow was called on one of them, but that was all left up to the owner to take care of there. As far as that's about it. As mine as the staff report goes.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
You were talking about digital, I think what it was, an appointment for pump outs
Yeah. A request?
request.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's through the online system we have.
Is it through
the
DACWA?
website?
No.
No, it's through the website.
It's the email system we set in place over a year ago. on the town website, you go to that form and you fill out your request. It sends it.
Okay, so you can't call in anymore and do
You can
that?
call in. Matanzas is just going to fill out that same form for you.
Okay.
We're going digital. We're trying to help
Okay.
with sanitation.
So so that is through the website, not through DACWA, the request for pump out. And how does the ticket purchase work through DACWA?
We're working some of those kinks through, with DACWA and with Matanzas staff last week. Right now, we have two point-of-sale systems that we're operating with until we can get the functionality of cash sale through DACWA. So we're using the town's paying for ShopKeep and DACWA. There is a monthly charge for both. And so the intent is, and it's already been raised to our contact at DACWA, is you have a credit card, you can take the sale of a pump out ticket through the DACWA app, but not cash. But the plan, we're working through some ideas with DACWA and with Matanzas to where you can, and on the website with Jenny, similar to the pump out form, you can fill out something else. You can call and purchase a pump out ticket, but no matter what, you're still going to have to pick it up. What the things that we're working through with DACWA is like Ticketmaster. When you go to a concert, is you pay for it and then they email you a ticket number. So we're asking them to see if their system can do that, and very open to that, and they have a good feeling that they might be able to move that way. Another digital system we're working through is, and this was raised by Matanzas at our meeting last week, was the Dinghy Registration. Right now, you fill out a piece of paper. We're looking to set up the exact same pump out form, but the dinghy form on the town website, to where you can go on, fill out the Dinghy Registration form, and then simply pick up your permit at Matanzas. Every person using the town's public dinghy dock has to have a little sticker and a registration. So again, we're trying to go digital with that process. So again, we just met with Matanzas last week and trying to draft some verbiage and pass that information along to of the.
Could I ask one question? I'm wondering, a few times I've gone by, it seems the field is fairly full. How is it tracking versus last year? Is it the number of vessels there increasing, decreasing?
We haven't been able to get the report from finance regarding last month's statistics. I can tell you that DACWA, for historical purposes, we've requested their occupancy report when it generates to produce a east and west field. But they do track length of vessel and what ball has been occupied. So we're just working through the formalities of the report, the occupancy report through DACWA. But Austin can speak to trends.
Yeah, as far as the field goes, we're getting an increase in wet storage, I should say, versus the transient and the liveaboards. We've established the whole extended program with the 10 liveaboard program that we have. But as far as the wet slips, those are increasing. We're getting more people coming into the field and staying as a transient and then leaving their boat and going back home or wherever they go. So there's more of that going on versus the transient scene. We have actually, in the last week, received a couple people that said that they've came to the field because of DACWA. So it is advertising and it is putting our name out there. So we're starting to get a little increase on transients. And that's more of just people coming in for 1 to 3 days. Where we're at with that.
Will we eventually be able to get some of that data on the number of boats in the field like we have gotten for 10, 12 years? Will we eventually be able to have that comparison?
Yes, so I met with our assistant finance director 2 days ago. On the back end side for reporting purposes, I told her I wanted to maintain that Excel sheet. I know it still takes human intervention to do that, but working with DACWA and their staff to try to manipulate the data to when it exports, it's similar or comparable that it's to what we've had in the past, that it's an easy transition for inputting for finance staff to that Excel book. But yes, the answer is yes, absolutely.
'Cause it's very helpful to us to
Yes,
see,
absolutely.
for everybody to see where we
Well,
are.
and learning the lengths of the vessels, learning how long they're staying, what ball may be occupied the most. East and West Field, which has more, which is being occupied more. So all of that information and data we can pull from DACWA. And so, like I said, I'm working with him. He actually just sent me the East and West Field data report, but I'm trying to work it to where it's an easy export that I can pass to you all and it's legible. So,
But what might be helpful is to have that Excel finish to where we start DACWA. And so we have that. And then we go forward with, whatever the metrics are from DACWA that makes sense, but we'll still have that old data that we can look at and compare, if that makes any sense to you. I'm not sure we have to continue with the old Excel, but if we could have it until DACWA starts.
I wanted to keep it for at least this year.
Okay,
That way we can see Aqua's numbers to last year's numbers and then moving forward. Because I hate to lose that historical data.
well, yeah, we need that data, definitely, yeah.
I like your idea of, at least for some unknown period of time, we keep them parallel, both, and I appreciate your keeping that up until we have something else to replace it.
Are you trying for calendar year or fiscal year?
It goes by fiscal.
We'll have it for a while if we can.
I have a question concerning the dinghy registration, more of a clarification. So, say a boater comes in here and, goes on DACWA and they have a mooring. My understanding that the dinghy registration is a separate registration?
Yes.
Why is that? Why would it not be attached to the original vessel registration so that the two things would be teamed together?
Different vessels. Different vessels. Because the point of DACWA is for the mooring field.
Right?
The point of the dinghy registration is for liability and safety precautions.
Okay.
And you don't have to be in the field to utilize the dinghy dock.
I understand.
So it is another process, but once you get your sticker, you're good. We need the contact information of those that are using the public dock in the event, God forbid, something happen. We have somebody's
Is there any way to distinguish between a dinghy which is related directly to a vessel on a mooring and a dinghy which is not?
And part of that would be coding or documenting the dinghy in the DACWA system under, like if you had your own contract or reservation, that we can add a note and say, Mike's dinghy is dinghy vessel registration, da, 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 da. That's a manual entry via note.
So there's nothing officially on the dinghy, like a sticker.
We do provide a sticker, similar to the parking pass.
I voiced this before, and I'll do it again. I believe that the stickers should be different. One should indicate a dinghy which is related to a vessel in a mooring field, and one which is not. The reason I say that is, and I know that our dinghy dock has to be open to the public, but I think it's a good way to monitor is it being abused by those who are not part of the mooring field.
Good.
The registrations themselves go back, and if you are in a mooring field, it has a place for it on your registration to state that you are a resident of the mooring field, or if it is Anchorage field, all the information is on the registration itself. So all you've got to do is look at the number of the registration sticker and then track that to your registration slip and then see if it is actually one of the field or one of the mooring field. So it doesn't say precisely on the sticker itself, but the information provided that the sticker gives us does provide that information.
Well, just as an aside, I often visit the dinghy dock, and I would like to be able at a glance see For example, I was down there the other day, and there was approximately a 16-foot metal, I would not call it a dinghy, boat tied to the dinghy dock. I'd like to know, is that vessel a part of our mooring field or not at a glance?
Either way, that vessel is not permitted to use the dinghy dock.
I agree. It would be helpful to know if that vessel, if it is a part of the mooring field, you know, you need to get a different dinghy, not land this one.
Good point. Thank you.
I wonder if the dinghy, if the stickers are numbered.
Yes.
If they were numbered, one might have two series of numbers, one for mooring field and one for others.
That's something we'll take into consideration moving forward. Thank you.
And I have one other question, just related to the last note. Austin, were you going to bring us a design diagram of the mooring systems themselves?
Yeah, I got them right here.
We had some technical difficulties this morning with our network, so bear with us.
Okay. The reason I ask, I've been online, like everyone, and you can become an expert at everything if you go online. And I was just wondering how ours compared to some of the things I'd seen.
We will pass this to you via email after this meeting. Like I said, we had some technical difficulties with our server this morning, so.
Right. Well, this is pretty similar. Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up with Mike that, what he's saying about getting the dinghy permit. There was, on Dockwell, I'm sure there's other fields that have à la carte stuff. If there was at least a link on the Dockwell, is there a link to go
Yes.
apply for your dinghy?
Well, we're
permit?
setting up the process digitally first, just like the pump outs, requesting a pump out. There is a link
Okay,
directly on Docwa that says you must request your pump outs here.
right.
And again, we're trying to train both Matanzas and the end user to simply go and fill out the form. If you call in, Matanzas is going to fill out the form for you. We're trying to get away from Matanzas having to handle the day-to-day call-ins of pump outs. And that way we have, it's the main point of having a digital system is tracking, is monitoring, are these vessels being pumped out? This person has never requested a pump out. This person only requests a pump out once a month. So we have to address those issues and concerns with regards to the field and meeting and being compliant with our submerged land lease and harbor management plan. That's why getting away from paper and having a digital system where we can track, it's important.
Ultimately, on Docwa, after you do the Docwa stuff, there'll be links and it'll provide for a parking permit, pump out and dinghy dock permits right there, so you don't have to find it somewhere else. At least it'll give those options.
Yes. I'm going to try to follow your list today because I normally just go and spiel and just give you everything. So I'm going to try to go in order.
Do we have any further report for this segment?
So I'll touch on what Austin said with the delinquencies. We are pursuing those in the court system. One of the things that Austin, kudos to Austin for recognizing, is that those with delinquent balances they accrue a $5 per day late fee, right? Well, the calculation that they owed us was based on the monthly rate. It would have been on the daily rate. So we've asked Matanzas to recalculate what is owed to the town for those 3 vessels. We are pursuing, I've been working with the town attorney, and we are pursuing those in court. I did, like he said, I did touch base with one of the owners of one of the vessels, and I got the spiel, of their concern. I told him, there had been no effort on his part to reach out to the town or even Matanzas to make amends or set up a payment plan or anything. So we have a lock on that vessel, similar to like if you're a tenant and you have all your stuff and you haven't paid your rent, your landlord's going to change the locks. So, and you pay your dues, your items. So we're working through those delinquencies. Not under this section.
Not in this section, okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to the expansion of the mooring field update.
So, our last meeting, I told you that we weren't going to get the Army Corps for a while, and we ended up getting it that day. So that's good news. But we did have a hiccup with DEP. They did issue the regulatory permit. It got to Tallahassee, and Tallahassee had a little issue. Essentially, we had the 19 slips and just the radius for those 19 slips. But when it came to DEP, we requested like a buffer zone to incorporate the shoal, to help protect that area as well and have fairly ownership, but regulation over that area. And Tallahassee wasn't too happy with that. So we have to jump through a couple hoops and loops. We can either amend the application and put it back down to just the 19 balls in the radius, or we have to go to the marine industries group, like another committee, which Hans Wilson is the chair of, and request a letter of no objection from them. So we've reached out to them. If they provide a letter of no objection, we can continue. That was DEP's request of us. So we can continue with the process and hopefully get that permit issued sooner than later. The intent for the field for that expansion is, once we have all permits in hand, is to take it to town council and ask their direction as to how they wish to proceed. They wish for us to start the process of putting the systems in. We can always put the systems in and not rent them out. We can put the anchors in and not necessarily tie up the rest of the system. But the point of all of this was the regulation of this area. Also, we did get notice from Lee County Sheriff's Office in coordination with Lee County Department of Natural Resources. 11 derelict/abandoned vessels were removed within the last month from our area. So they are making headways in that sense. Absolutely. I believe that information was passed, I just don't know. But I will resend it. I will resend it. That is the expansion.
Well, see, the exception, the objection by the DEP was about our request to have some jurisdiction over the shoal area, am I
Was to
correct?
have almost like a buffer zone.
Right.
Because it's too shallow in there regardless, and we don't want if we get
Really?
this area of the 19 slips, we don't want somebody to come 20 feet and drop anchor.
Right.
So that's why our coastal engineering consultant provided a buffer zone. Now, our existing fields have a buffer zone. That's true? So again, we were just asking for what we already have.
I think that's a great idea, because that was one of my concerns all along with the expansion of that part of the field, was that two things could happen. Someone could try and anchor in there and then be aground when the tide goes out, or secondly, someone under the right conditions trying to pick up a mooring ball might think they can use that area to basically maneuver their vessel so that they can pick up one of the balls correctly, and then they wind up aground, and so then we've got a mess we don't really want. So, great, okay.
So just if we received a letter of objection, we would have to start the process over or reduce our requested area to only the 19 miles. But initial feedback from Mr. Wilson is promising.
Isn't there some sort of legal buffer zone for approved anchorages anyhow, like 200 feet or something like that?
I'm not here. I don't know.
I think we need it, but I was wondering if we didn't have it already.
That area is pretty confined because of the federal channel, and then just reality, it's so shallow towards the shoal. So, I mean, just, again, it comes back to regulation of the area. That's what this amounts to. And DEP up in Tallahassee understands that that is our intent.
Was your question, is there a regulatory zone around municipality mooring fields?
Right.
Yeah, yes, there is. On the books, there is. There's a buffer zone around that and our fendered waterways, all channels and all public ramps, as well as all places that provide public to the, or fuel to the public as well. Anything that falls under the no wake statute also falls under no anchoring statutes. Statutes are in place, but the enforcement is what is needed.
What is that foot distance?
As far as what?
This buffer,
Usually it's from 500 feet from any marina that will provide public fuel or can harbor a super yacht or a mega yacht, or it's 200 feet or 100 feet, I'm sorry, from any fendered area.
That's right.
Or any municipality mooring field is also 200 feet. to
right,
300
that's
feet,
what I
yeah.
thought, yeah.
Anything further with expansion? Service provider update.
So we met with Kansas last week. I'm not sure if you all were aware, but the final year of the 3-year contract, or the potential extensions, goodness, was approved at Monday's council meeting. So December 1st, we'll start the last year of our contract with Matanzas. We met with Matanzas staff last week to address some contractual issues. We're hoping and feel that they'll be able to meet, address those concerns. They provided some concerns regarding DACWA, and rightfully so. It's fair. We're 21 days into the system. So we're working through some issues to resolve with DACWA and with Matanzas, and system is, again, it's supposed to make efficiency for both the end user and the administrative staff. So Austin and I are working through some of those issues. Again, Matanzas is working through some of the issues that we posed and raised to them. That's
I have some questions about, we used it this last month, but I'll ask it after.
okay.
That,
As a side note, and again, mind you, we are 21 days into this. We are still working out some kinks. One of the things that we realized just last week was there's a 3.5% processing fee, DACWA. In the fee schedule, Town Council approved that 3.5% fee to be passed on to the end user. And so essentially for this month's rent, of $312, it's like $10.90, right? Well, that processing fee was docked off of the $312 instead of on top of. So like similar to you going to a restaurant, you have your subtotal of your food, and then they add taxes to it. So although it will appear as there is an increase for rental, the actual rental cost has not increased. So that will be that is reflected as of yesterday in the system. So when you go to, if you go to renew, you're going to see it's going to be $312 plus 3.5%. So it'll be $322.90, which is what it should be. It's 3.5% processing fee on top. So you're $18 if you come in for a day, add 3.5% on top of that. That was one of the issues that we saw and that we addressed. That notice will be going out hopefully today, and hopefully, if not today, tomorrow, or by the end of the week. But we're looking to hopefully use the messaging system in DACWA to notify the boaters. that works. Matanza staff did note that there was some frustration from some of the boaters that they were getting so many emails. So we have our DACWA contract looking into how many emails that they are getting. They get the friendly reminders. We were getting, I was getting little love messages from one of the boaters that was clearly frustrated, so I gave him a call and I had to explain to him that this is an automated system. It's not somebody sitting behind a keyboard typing these messages to you. So, for the most part, I believe it's well received. Again, any feedback, if it's negative or positive, we're open to receiving at this point. It's a new system. If we can make the process more streamlined, that's our intent. Again, this system is here to help us, not hinder us.
The one issue I'm not sure what happened, and I haven't followed through to call Matanzas, was the contract. They presented a contract, which we filled out. It didn't seem like there was a way to upload it, and the contract that I signed was blank.
Yep, so that was another one of the issues.
Okay.
And like yourself, for years you've been so used to physically filling that contract out.
Right.
We had put that contract on there so that way you could see all of the terms and conditions of the mooring field.
Okay.
We have since removed that, like, as if you can fill it out. It's just, you know, when you go to sign off on, like, digital and sign off
Right.
on something, you check the terms and conditions box. That's essentially what it is. And you weren't the only person who raised that concern. People saw a contract and they wanted to fill it out, and that's not the case. It was when you signed off, you were agreeing to the terms and conditions below, which just so happened to be.
Well, my concern was, I mean, Matanzas has had a contract with us since the mooring field was in, so they have all the information for us. But a boater that's coming in for 1 or 3 days, when you fill out for DACWA, does it fill in all of the information that we've had on the contract? Do we have that then?
All of everything that is required within the contract, form fields,
It's filled out through DACWA.
is filled
somewhere.
out through DACWA.
Okay, that
You
was my
you do not
question.
physically fill out a form and upload it or anything.
I just wasn't sure if all of those fields that we've had in our contract were
Yes.
addressed, but they are.
And some.
Okay. So essentially, going forward, because that was one of my concerns about if I was going to have to fill that out every time, and that question is no, then, essentially. Okay.
There's some kind of reminder on there that says,
An email reminder, re-up.
okay, no, that says, these fields will not fill in, they're taken from your application from DACWA.
I don't think there was anything there, I recall.
People aren't trying to fill them in.
We removed it, so you can't, there's nothing.
There's nothing
Okay.
to do now,
Got it.
okay.
Look at it. Thanks.
Is there anything more with that, other than
Did you want to go through this as part
we
of
probably
this?
should, because that's part of this.
Okay, so we provided, the town has some interns that they brought on board, and I was fortunate to have 2 of them for 3 weeks. And they tackled anything and everything mooring field regarding numbers. So you'll have this big packet of papers here. I asked them to do a comparative analysis of other mooring fields, working with Austin, on what the rates are for other places.
I did not get one of those.
Didn't get one of these? Here, you can have mine. So this is just kind of informational purposes. As we continue to grow and move forward, you can see that there are peak and non-peak rates. There are, every place to each their own. They do linear foot of the vessel rates. They do daily or dinghy dockage costs, which of course we cannot, unless the town paid for out of its own funds for it to put in a new dinghy dock. But the one that we have was grant funded, so it has to be public. But you'll see all of the the second page too for amenities and extras. There's parking, there's rooms, laundries, lockers, showers, restrooms, water, ice, storage, pump outs, Wi-Fi, etc. So you can just kind of see the comparison of all of these, what they charge. And again, this was just for information for you to review, not necessarily an action that needs to be taken, but so you could see where the town stands compared to our competitors. So send an email. I didn't hear back from everybody, but those that did respond, we did have Randy compile this pretty pros and cons list for the 3 sites that this committee made a motion for at your last meeting. One being staying with Matanzas, the second one being the Harbor House, and then the third one being Bay Oaks. I am going to reiterate that the Harbor House, anytime you are looking to procure something, not going to be on the market forever. And the owner, at least one of the owners of the 2 units, made it very clear that they needed some information, and I know this committee is not the one to make that decision, but if again, it's not going to be on the market forever. They either want to do something with it themselves, and the same goes, I'm speaking for Doug, but he is here, he may be able to speak for himself, that they're not going to leave it sitting empty forever. They're going to take some action if it's for themselves or selling it to another party, etc. So I just that in the back of your minds as we review this, but Kathy, I didn't know if you wanted to run through each of these, the pros and cons, maybe have a little discussion.
Have a little discussion. And I think it also ties in kind of with the projected comparison of the money too. Now, am I correct that the split with Matanzas is 65-45?
55.
I'm sorry, 65-55. 55,
45.
45-55. Okay,
Yes.
45 to us,
Yes.
55 to Matanzas. Okay. I'm just trying to get that, because it's changed over the years.
Well, and that is of the revenues. Now, the town pays for DACWA.
Okay. Right. On pays DACWA, which will be in any case.
Yes.
And that DACWA add-on doesn't have anything to do with the split. That's totally separate.
What are we talking?
The $10, the 3% you just.
3.5%.
Yeah.
That's just a processing fee of a card.
That doesn't have anything to
That
do
doesn't
with our
touch it.
split
That
or
doesn't, no,
anything.
that the town doesn't see that, nor Matanzas.
That's just the customer's charge, and
Yeah,
gets
that's the processing fee that for those cards. So just to kind of touch on how these 2 documents side by side is a comparative one, the numbers one is strictly like brick and mortar. I didn't have enough time to go into personnel costs or any of that detail, but this is the bigger number. Personnel would be.
And I had a couple issues with, it's a good start, because I know, there's some unknowns. And that was one of the things I put in with when I sent in my pros and cons, is for taking in-house, we have unknowns of cost of running, personnel needed, maintenance, all of that. And those are unknowns we don't have. With Matanzas, we know what we're doing here. But in the comparison with the prices, with first 2, Matanzas and Harbor House, we have a dinghy dock. It's not put in anything about a dinghy dock with Bay Oaks as far as the up cost, which would have to be. And that is, again, one of the unknowns, is if we can even do that at Bay Oaks to access that. We have water, sewer comparing to Newton Park, which is kind of like apples to oranges, because Newton Park has restrooms, which we're going to have showers and laundry. So I realize we're just plugging a figure in there.
Newton Park does have a couple showers, I believe. I know that they have like the outside foot shower and bath, but just as a starting comparison,
I understand it's a starting, yeah.
Yes.
But and the numbers are going to be the same. So, and also Bay Oaks, there's no insurance there, which is going to be a cost. Surely there's going to be insurance in there somewhere.
town pays insurance as it is right now for the rec center.
But that's a cost.
But that necessarily wouldn't be covered by the mooring field operations. That would be,
But if it's a mooring field building,
finance has
I'm
a
just-
wonderful formula that they have calculated how every department bears the cost of insurance. And I believe the last conversation I had, it was based on the number of staff personnel in each department. As of right now, we have 0.5 in mooring field.
When we look at the overall view, is Bay Oaks feasible? Do we know whether we can get water access from Bay Oaks that's satisfactory? And if so, how long it might take to achieve that when we suddenly made a decision we wanted to do that? My point is that one of our feelings is that we need to have something so that we don't run out of options. It would appear that the Bay Oaks option, if it's feasible, should always be a backup, even though it might take 1 or 2 years to achieve it. And I'm just wondering, when we talk about Bay Oaks, is it really feasible? Can we get the permission to get water access and these things, even if it costs a lot? Can we do it?
I think the precedent is set with Gulf Beach Road dinghy dock. We've already done it. It would just be a matter of putting it further into the campus.
Digging out the mangrove area and getting that permitted to dig out a little lagoon area or something that would come in further.
I'm not sure I buy that, though.
Are we gonna be able
You know,
to do that, though? Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, because, I mean, that area was already there. We didn't have to dig anything out. So getting permitting to dig through mangroves, I'm not convinced. I mean, I'm not saying we can't, but we didn't have to dig anything there.
Well, the preserve just was redone. So, I mean, they've kind of set the precedence there too.
Yeah, but they didn't dig any mangroves.
They had to clear some to continue and build the new boardwalk.
Yeah, but that's different.
I'm not going to argue. It can be done. We can pursue it. We can ask the questions. We can hire a coastal engineering consultant. It's an option.
We have plenty of area if we need to mitigate something, possibly.
Buy credits, you can mitigate, you can plant elsewhere on the site, you can.
One thing that I did notice from the meeting, the last meeting, the guy gave, the part that I did hear about Bay Oaks was restrooms on the first floor. And that's something that we could not do at Bayside. Is that something we're going to be able to do at Bay Oaks? Guy went through the whole presentation. The new building has restrooms on the ground floor.
It's because of the flood zone. The
Okay,
flood zone's
we're far enough
different.
away from the bay. We could do ground floor restrooms at Bay Oaks potentially.
Well, that means to me that we have an option which we will not lose, even if it's not an attractive option, but our present circumstances not work out.
What's the deadline on Bay Oaks, like final, are they at a 30% now or something, or
Council just approved the contract to move to 100% design.
that's without us included?
Correct. So any changes would require scope change and cost. Then, of course, the funding to construct it.
Like our extra field, theoretically, we could spend a good bit of money to plan something and not build it at this time and still retain the plan. Is that possible?
I'm not clear on your question.
All right, the question is, now that we're doing all this planning at Bay Oaks, is there any chance of making a plan for the future or having our mooring field office in that location and wait to make the investment to build it till later? In other words, I don't know how much it costs to do all the engineering to figure out how to do it, and that we wouldn't have to do it immediately.
Yes.
Is that a possibility?
And I'll reiterate what the town manager has multiple comments to the council. It's better to have a shovel-ready project designed and permitted, ready, especially when it comes to funding, either albeit grant or loan. We had to do the same thing with the $10 million loan. We had to show some progress of because the bank wants to know what they're investing in. So it's better to have a shovel-ready project permitted and ready to rock and roll than to have a concept that still has to go through political loops and loops.
And we have no idea how much that investment would be. I'm sure it is substantial, but if we're looking for insurance, that would be an option we might recommend.
Well, we threw a rough number out here at the cost per square foot to build from ground up, and it's $400 per square foot.
But
That's like finished.
Yeah, but I'm suggesting we go to the point of getting it all planned, as you say, shovel-ready, then I wonder how much of that, will, particularly the water access, because if we get that all shovel-ready, we don't have to do it right away, because we have a very viable
Typically, when DEP issues a permit, they have a timeline on it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not like an expedited timeline, but there is, the permit does expire at a certain point.
Years?
Or, they've given, yeah, I'd say a couple of years.
Still close.
I'm going to make a comment, I think. I'm sort of absorbing all this new information, but contract with Miss Kansas. It would seem to me it would be planning Bay Oaks anyway to include may or may not build at this, have it ready in case Kansas doesn't work out in the long run. Their work and it's a reasonable do the design. And if you had the design, more accurate cost estimate.
Well, and mind you, we have the building that was partially designed for Bayside Park. There could be some tweaks, but to the
And put on the ground floor, possibly.
Tim, do you have any?
Yeah, I had one more comment about Harbor House, and it's on the cons there. I guess it's a legal question about when you're part of a condo association and you only get 2 votes or however many square footage votes we get, and they basically vote us so many limitations that we can't even operate anymore. That was one thing I was worried about as far as, condo rules and regulations. And it seems like with 2/3 vote, they could change anything they want. Not sure how that works.
you're still a part owner of a larger association, so you still have some stake in it.
Right, but we
Saying
wouldn't have enough
if the
votes. We
the
wouldn't have,
re-
maybe Doug will tell us about that in a little while. Is he going to give a presentation in a little while?
he wasn't asked to.
Okay. I just saw him shuffling papers up there. I wasn't sure, but he can do that now, or he can save it for public comment maybe. That was one of the
Perhaps.
questions I had about
Perhaps you can
that.
touch on that.
Mike?
Well, we've been discussing this for some time, and I guess my thoughts are, one, if there's an urgency, as you sort of said about, for example, Harbor House, I The question is, what is the urgency of the council? And I don't know how to read that. Because to me, the Bay Oaks thing, I agree with Doug, the design would be fine. But I worry that we're going to be building a bridge to nowhere. In other words, if we can't put Bay Oaks in place within a reasonable time frame, what have we gained other than spending extra money on more design? So, my thought is that the council needs to make this decision. It's theirs ultimately anyway. And we can recommend and we can advise, but if there is an urgency to make this happen, it seems to me our choices are very simple. Continue with Matanzas as is, or go ahead with the Harbor House option. Because the Bay Oaks option, whereas it is something which may be, there's a lot of maybes in there for me. Well, that's just the way I feel about it.
I mentioned this at your last meeting. And redevelopment of Bay Oaks started with a parcel. Because a committee pushed, localized, gained community support, council support, it turned into an entire campus redevelopment. This is an advisory committee to the town council. I understand, yes, town council does make the final decision, but again, this is an advisory committee. They turned to you. They turned back to you when they said, no, they don't want Bayside. They didn't want it at Bayside Park. They said, okay, come up with alternative options. That's where, again, they've come back to you and said, all right, what is this committee? What do they think? And that's where we're at today. And that's where last meeting, these were the three options that this committee voiced, and now we can vet them. You can dwindle them down to 2, maybe to 1, maybe you number them. I don't know. That's the...
Along the way somewhere, I have heard it said that there might be some improvement of facilities at Matanzas should they have a longer contract. What is that? Have we got any way to think that they might come up with a more restrooms or whatever for a certain period of contract that we could count on, and thereby give us some time to develop these other options? Even though Harbor House is next door to them, it adds restrooms and it's going to cost us something. I'm just wondering if there's any way to improve Matanzas options for a 3 to 5 year contract or whatever it might be, and thereby continue with that. And then it looks like that's coming to end. We have some options along the way, because it seems that we have problems with Matanzas. The only ones that have gotten to my brain are the lack of facilities for the increased use. So I don't know whether that's an option we can explore or someone else can explore to see if some of the problems that we seem to have, the present facilities at Matanzas, could be improved in response to a longer contract or something like that.
So Ted, they did provide, Matanzas Estero Bay Hotel did provide in the recent RFP a 5-year contract if amenities were improved, provided multiple options. But that RFP went to council. Council provided some direction, not necessarily took action, but provided direction that town basically if the town were to invest, would rather invest in themselves.
Well, I think if that's what the council's thought was, that comes back to what I'm saying. It would seem to me that the option, if Harbor House is an option, for example, as you said earlier, we have to make, the decision has to be made within a reasonable period of time. Whereas with Bay Oaks, again, what is that time frame? I think there are some things which we haven't discussed. perhaps Doug could speak more to this, perhaps. It seems to me there's some environmental issues once we get to talking about removing of mangroves, dredging of material back there. Having dealt myself on another level with the DEP in Tallahassee, I can tell you that sometimes those things can be quite an endeavor over time and cost, quite frankly. So I just personally think, I will give my own opinion. Bay Oaks does not seem like a viable option to me. Harbor House seems like a viable option. Matanzas seems like a viable option as things stand, with some improvements to me. So might as well get off the stump and say, I see two options here, Harbor House or Matanzas.
When I'm thinking about the three options we have here, I'm thinking of customer and me as a boater going into a facility. And part of what we've wanted furthered, we've wanted more restrooms. It's one of the things, more restroom showers. But we've also wanted expanded hours for our customers. And I understand the reason that Matanzas is hesitant to do that. But we've talked about maybe making them 24 hours or at least expanded, maybe 6 to midnight or whatever. Okay, so if the town decides to take it in-house, and I'm looking at these two options, Harbor House, Bay Oaks, and I want to take a shower at 11 o'clock at night, and I get off my boat, and I'm dinghying in, I go into Harbor House, there's lights, there are people, I feel safe going there. If I'm going to get in my dinghy at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm going to go into now going to Bay Oaks, which is in the middle, frankly, in the middle of nowhere, dark, I'm not going to feel very safe doing that, frankly, to be honest with you. I agree with Mike. I think there are issues about, I've already voiced that about maybe getting the dinghy dock in there. But part of when I filled out the questionnaire about thinking about Bay Oaks as a boater, as a customer, and we need to put those people first. There's nothing there. I mean, there are no restaurants close. There's no activity. I mean, we're going to have probably, if we decide to go that way, we can build a first-class facility there. But I think we can also build a really nice facility at Harbor House, and it's in downtown. And I think there's a big reason to do that, to have our people visit our businesses, to take advantage of what we have here. And Bay Oaks may be a very nice facility and may be close to Town Hall, which would be convenient for us, but I think we need to think about the customer, frankly. So I think if the town wants to take it in-house, if that's their decision, and I understand Matanzas really doesn't want to expand unless they're going to have a long-term contract. I understand that. So if we decide not to give them one, then we...
When you say the town, this committee is part of the town.
No, I know that. I know, but I'm speaking of town council or making a decision about whether they want to do that or not. I think if we want to expand, I think Harbor House is the one option. I mean, to me, that's my reasoning on that option. I just think there's too many ifs about Bay Oaks, and there's too, as far as, the safety, and that was, somebody said that too, uncertainty, its susceptibility to vandalism and stuff. I just think it's pretty isolated for our customers.
I know this is next, but we spent a lot of time as a committee on this strategic plan, and we set the goals that we'd like to see in the future. And hopefully once this gets adopted, I know we keep pushing, kicking it down the road, but once this committee adopts this and then we take this to council and council adopts this, again, this document can be edited. It is a working document, And as things change, as technology progresses, as personnel change, maybe directions of the town change, as infrastructure changes, look back at this. And Bay Oaks has a strategic plan of how they see themselves in the future, goals, plans. Just imagine where we were 3 years ago, when Maureen first introduced DACWA to us. How many years ago was that? 4, 5? I don't even know at this point. And now we've implemented it. So part of it is the drive from this committee and how you see the mooring field. And like you said, Kathy, that's a perfect example, is take the stance of the boater coming in. What is it you want to see? What is it you want to come into? Let's whatever it is, if it's working with Matanzas and renovating that, if it's curing Harbor House, if it's building a place down at Bay Oaks, what is it you want to see?
It's, when we compare Harbor House and Matanzas, are we improving our facilities by taking over Harbor House, or are we just doing it to take it over? I feel like that the Harbor House may not end up being as kind to the customers as Matanzas because of the size of the organization running it, unless we're going to make a contract with someone to run the thing, like Matanzas, which is adjacent. I just wonder, are we improving anything by taking it over and putting it in Harbor House? Or are we just going to take it over to take it over? I realize that we don't.
The original, when we were looking at it in June, had maybe 5 showers, but we're talking about taking even another unit too. So we're going to have a lot more space.
Okay, well, that was just my.
Well, and Ted, this may be for the committee. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe at your last committee, your last meeting, this committee made a motion to look at potentially taking it in-house.
Well,
So I don't know that that's in question.
Well,
Harbor House doesn't run it.
I understand that. But there's a lot of things that I'm just wondering what the quality of the two options are, how they balance out. I can't get a feeling for that because we don't know how we're going to run it exactly and how much personnel it's going to take. And
the town manager mentioned that, I believe, at the meeting that you presented to. We have base staff that can help supplement that are here till 10 p.m. at night. We have people around. Myself, we've got an assistant, we've got Austin, we've got, the staffing isn't necessarily a concern for us at this point. It's the cost of a facility or even renovating a facility or having an existing land and building on that. That number is and really again, I go back to this committee said that we're looking to take it in-house. At your last meeting, there was a motion and the majority of this committee. So that's why we've presented these options.
Roxanne, did you have something you wanted to say?
I wanted everybody to speak first because I try not to talk for everybody else because I don't want to be influencing you. But I have to let you know that I agree with Sam. Having practiced law, I have severe reservations about the town buying a condominium. The legal restrictions that we would be under really frighten me. If a board of a condominium association votes a special assessment because they're going to replace all the windows in the building, you have to pay it. It's a completely unexpected cost that may not be on your time frame of when you were planning on improving your facility. Condominium boards are it's not a democracy, it's essentially a little dictatorship. A small group of people vote and have a huge impact on how you can use your space and how you can improve the exterior parts of your space, sometimes common areas and other things that you would use. Part of the reason to me of us taking this in-house and having our own place is that we would have control. We would lose a great deal of that control if we buy a condominium unit, in addition to the fact that we would have a monthly condo fee, which they can raise whenever they see fit, raise that fee. And we have to pay it forever as long as we own the condominium. So I would just tell you that as my vote on town council, I would have really huge reservations about buying a condominium. And it's nothing against Harbor House. It's the condominium law situation that gives me great reservations.
I agree with Rexanne about that, because that definitely is, that could be a really big thing in the future. The other thing about Harbor House is it's a great central location. The familiarity is good. The late night thing that Kathy was talking about, we could have security. It would be very easy compared to Bay Oaks, where late at night or even during the day, Bay Oaks has, baseball fields, and I guess they're putting in some kind of convention center, so I'm not sure.
Amphitheater.
Okay. And some kind of meeting room also, maybe. I'm not sure about the parking situation there. Right now, our parking situation, provided it's not full, is a good situation. The dinghy dock for Harbor House and Matanzas, plus we're getting the other dinghy dock soon, right? At Bayside, possibly.
We'll apply for it soon.
Yeah.
We have to finish out the expansion before we can
That'll
do
be
that.
good. The other thing I was concerned about with Harbor House is configuration. If we add the new flooring area, do we still have enough room? I guess if we have the other expanded area of Harbor House, will we have enough room for plenty of restrooms and plenty of showers? Because if we do that, that's going to be the end. We can't buy another unit in there or expand anymore.
Well, if another unit became available, that's something that the town could entertain. But
Right.
the number of showers and restroom facilities is, we know what the average square foot of a shower is, and we can see as many as we can get in there. I know when the proposal was provided, it was like Kathy, five or six, but that didn't consider the other unit that has since been brought light.
We could probably configure that to accommodate the current field and the expansion field and an office in there. The other thing is, our flagship is Times Square. It's getting redone. All the action is there. The trolley stop, both to go down the beach to Publix and to get off the island, is right there also. Bay Oaks, that's going to be a haul for somebody with a big backpack and something. Come all the way up to the boulevard, and especially if they wanted to go into town. Be a double ride on a trolley. Would be close to Town Hall. The only amenity I could even think of is the swimming pool that would be really accessible right there in Town Hall. But bad the Harbor House has rules, and we couldn't just buy it outright, because that's going to be a big concern, and I don't know how you get that up front, how you get because it's dynamic, like Rexanne says. The condos are dynamic. I've been in them. I don't like them. They're dynamic, and 2/3 of the vote could change everything. The one good thing we have going there is we have separate entrances on the ground floor that we could card key probably 24 hours. That's a pretty busy area. There's a cop shop right there. Whereas Bay Oaks, would be a little scary, even with lighting, to be the only one, coming up after dark at any time. I remain uncertain.
Ask a question. So I'm just getting up to speed on the Harbor House option. The idea is to buy 2 condominium units, model them into public showers.
Yes, so there are 2 units. Actually, the one is owned by Matanzas, the owner. We had put out an RFP, and they were the only, Cerro Bay Hotel was the only responsive bidder. And that RFP went to council. Council kind of danced with it, decided not to take any action to push discussion back to this committee. And then, so there are 2 units. I think the total square footage of both units is like 1,500 square feet, or thereabouts, not a little less. It's ground level, and it is concrete floor and 4 walls, and I think each unit has a restroom, a single ADA restroom. But they each have their own access units. They're owned by 2 different entities. That is the Harbor House. I'm not sure if you're familiar where Harbor House is.
Yeah, I'm not, and I'll go over and take a look at it, but have you
We have,
check with the building code that you can actually?
yep, we actually took our building official down there, and the building has been flood proofed, so we can conduct in there. So, like I said, it's a blank slate. So, I believe some of the committee members here have viewed it, and maybe we can coordinate with the owners if you wish to go view it too as well, or you could peek in the windows, I believe.
I kind of naturally would have all the same questions, just like a condo and remodel it into a public.
Private space. Wanted to, Doug and Chris that are here, they'll take you over if you want.
Chris is like the
make
operation
arrangements.
manager of the
Okay, so,
company,
yeah.
and Doug is the owner.
It just kind of raises questions.
Is it a public space? Not, the bathrooms are not open to the public, and supposedly the bathrooms at Snug Harbor are open to the public?
Yes.
Could you tell us about that? I know it's a little off the subject, but, I mean, is that for boaters also, or for any public?
Public.
It's public,
Okay.
Public restroom.
like the beach places and stuff. They're just restrooms.
I'm just wondering if Doug would be amenable now. It might be good time to hear something from someone has specific knowledge about the facility at Harbor House.
This is your meeting.
We
You
do
choose
it
to invite
where
him.
it's not public comment, where he has more
No,
than
he
3
can
minutes
come
and
up.
he can do question and
This
answer.
is your committee. You run this meeting.
You can come up
Wanna come
to
to
right in the
mic?
middle there.
Make sure you identify yourself if you would.
Yeah, we're not
We
very
know
good.
who you are.
We're not very good about
No, not
identifying
every one of
ourselves,
us.
are we?
So, good morning. My name is Doug Spearensmith. I'm here with Chris Hornberg. Both Chris and I were part of the development team at Harbor House. So we conceived the building, we built the building. It's a commercial condominium, 2 kinds of users. One is a general commercial user on the bottom floor, and the top is a approved hotel, residential units with nightly rentals. There are distinct qualities in the condominium documents that protect commercial uses, hotel uses. Some differentiation between how parking is dealt with, assessments are dealt with. I think condominiums are probably the worst form of ownership ever invented. Each is full of them. Documents can stand on themselves. Mixed-use condominiums have to deal with mutuality of purpose and sometimes conflicting uses. But in the case of the Harbor House, one of the units that the town has been talking to, one of the owners of the units that the town has been talking to is the condominium association. I can assure you that if they sell to the town, they would agree to probably any reasonable provision the town suggests to protect the interest. Saying that, you put a bar down there, so I suspect a mooring field user probably pretty benign compared to a commercial user. So much as I acknowledge condominiums can be complicated, I don't think you have to be afraid of it. I think you just have to do your homework and know what your ramifications are. So The condominium fee is fairly specific on how those assessments are derived. Water, sewer, trash, insurance, roof repairs, differentiation between the top of the building and the bottom of the building on how assessments can be derived and how capital assessments can be derived. So there's a fairness to the whole document that doesn't need to be scary. Most of those costs are going to be incurred wherever you go. They're going to be incurred at Bay Oaks because you got to insure the building. Share costs maybe, but you have to insure the building. You have to have water, you have to have sewer. So as much as I will acknowledge condominiums are a little more complicated, I don't think you have to be scared here. I think you just have to do your homework. And I don't think it's inherently more expensive because it's a brand new quality building. There are no free maintenance fees. It's a matter of how do you budget. The other thing I'll say is on the Matanzas side, most of our costs are labor, to be honest. Not labor, it's water, dockage, cleaning. When we take our fee and we itemize it, where we spend money versus where we get money, it's rather comprehensive, and it covers an awful lot of things. And I think in the analysis I see here, doesn't necessarily apples to apples. Although I understand the town is in a good position, their staff save on both facilities or I don't see the detail. I certainly acknowledge that there's a lot of efficiencies if you share services. That's what we do with our front desk staff, and that's the only reason we can do it good. We do share staffs. So will say that I have not seen the space planning requirements for the town. I had proposed in the Harbor House initial document, we had a 750 square feet or 775 square feet, and we laid it out with bathrooms and laundry room. I've not seen what the space requirements are, and there's a big difference in this between Bay Oaks at 1,200 feet, Harbor House units at 1,400 feet. But if you look at the space planning in detail, there might be more options than this even as it relates to Harbor House. I don't know what the town's space planning looks like, so I don't know how much square feet is really needed. But we have always been trying to facilitate open dialogue on how much space, and where. And I'm just trying to give you input when we have. So if 1,200 feet is enough, and it has to be in certain kinds of uses, and I assume you want more office space. That's why you want more space. And we should have that dialogue because there might be a way of making that more efficient and cheaper for the town. So, but, if you're not in the loop, you don't put. That's it.
Very good.
I have a question about the Harbor House and for Austin kind of. If we end up doing something with Harbor House, we would have to have, we've got the two boats, the pump out boat and the deck boat, right? And the pontoon. So obviously Matanzas, that's a great spot. It's out of the tide. I guess we have a couple other options at, Moss Marina or Hug Harbor docks, or even back John Richard's lagoon back there. But Chris will vouch, that coming into Matanzas restaurant, to those docks, anything Matanzas, Snug, or even the dinghy docks there, that tide is really running. And I don't know, would that be something you'd be comfortable with, bringing the boats in? Because you're usually single-handing most of the time, aren't you?
Yeah,
And you've seen those tides running there at Matanzas.
yeah, we operate in all weather, and the boat, as long as it's got gas in it and it's being propelled, we can probably control it. But yeah, my ultimate plan would be to not leave the boats in the water when not in use. I'd like to keep that into the planning projections as well, as installing some kind of lift somewhere or some way to extract the boats out of the water. The growth in this area really does a number on these boats, and I would like some way to slow that down, and if not, extend the life of the boat somehow.
Would like a Moss Marine dry storage fill that bill for you?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, something where
Or
even
lifts.
the town, we can, Virginia Street, something, just having a lift somewhere that we can just lift the boat out of the water when not in use.
You don't have to be actually at the site. You could be at Virginia, you could be even across the bay. You don't have to be at the office.
Yeah, no,
You don't have to be right there.
no, as long as the boat's out of the water. I mean, I'm even down for, we can adapt to whatever's thrown at us. I mean,
Because Harbor House won't have what we have now.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and we have access to the county's boat ramp on San Carlos Island that I believe Austin and his staff.
yeah, we utilize it daily.
Okay.
There's opportunities, and again, like Austin said, that's an operational issue. That's something we'll resolve.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like us to, well, of course, there'll be discussion for this, but I would move that we make a recommendation or an advisory to the town council that we pursue the Harbor House option. Our first priority.
I'll second the motion for discussion.
For discussion?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Once again, I think we need to look at those condo docks really, really closely. And obviously Doug's going to work with us, but Doug doesn't have the votes. There's however many owners are there. I'm just going to guess 100 owners, or how many units? Maybe 70 units? 43 units, plus the downstairs is going to be, it'll be approximately 50 owners. And that includes the downstairs. 2/3 of those people can run your life. I mean, if we do recommend that they look into it, the town council looks into it, that's going to be a caveat.
Well, and they need to do
Big
that.
caveat.
I mean,
And
if
actually-
we're talking about looking into this option, they're going to do their homework and decide whether they want to do it or not.
That's
Essentially.
probably an unwritten part or unsaid part of my motion, is
Just a
that
footnote.
we have, as I've said before, we've chewed on this thing like a dog with a bone for a long time. And if I understand correctly, town council's looking at us for some direction. Let's give them some direction. Let them then, or let the staff explore this option, whether it is truly viable or not, based upon some of the concerns, for example, that Sam has and others. But at least we have a start with something concrete, because we keep going over and over this, and we may very well find, after this is inspected properly, that it's not a viable option. There are things there which doesn't look as good.
Well, and
At least we would know then.
town council directs two people, town manager and the town attorney. Can I kind of dovetail? Clear on the motion, not necessarily clear on one unit or both units, or your last meeting, it was about potentially taking it in-house. I don't want to assume anything. I want it very clear. If we can make it clear what exactly it is the intent.
Want to revise the motion for?
I would revise the motion to say that we direct how should I say this? Staff, advise the staff
Nope.
to,
Advise
Council.
advise council to take under consideration pursuing the 2-unit option at Harbor House, and that all necessary inspections be done to see if it is a viable option.
Yeah, my second.
take in-house.
And that
Take in-house, yes.
in-house, and that includes specific to the contract. I mean, that sounds like that's the
Absolutely, yes.
hangup.
As for discussion, I kind of made my point clear as to whether I thought Harbor House or Bay Oaks, and we need to expand our offerings, obviously. And so I think the only way that we're really going to be able to do that, I believe, is to take it in-house. Because I certainly understand Matanzas would want a long-term option. And from what I understand, that we would be, if we would leave it at Matanzas and expand to 4 or 5 restrooms, we would be the ones, the town would be constructing that. Is that
They
correct?
provided multiple options in their
Multiple
proposals.
options, but that was one of the options?
Yes.
Okay.
And keep in mind, Doug kind of alluded to it, there's costs no matter what, if it's through Matanzas or if it's through the town. And if we do choose to increase our services, albeit through Matanzas or the town, there will be increased cost, whatever that may be. So it's that, I mean, for tat.
I think I'm for the idea of viewing it, recommending to the town council that they direct staff to look into this, but I think it should include like space planning, some sketch or something to really maybe their cost estimate. And then, of course, a complete legal sort of review of the condo.
And I did reach out to a local contractor, actually, Fowler, who just redid Newton for the town, and that 150 per square foot, although high, it's
Nice.
that's a real number. That number, you know, hot off the press, you know, we just did, like I said, we completely gutted the bathrooms at Newton. So it's as if we were starting from scratch. So that is, again, the thing a contractor come out to the beach, you say beach and they've already added 20% onto their costs. So
Yes. Is there any more discussion on this motion? Everybody clear with what the motion is? All in favor of Mike's motion of exploring Harbor House?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
So
We have
my
a direction.
question to you, Kathy,
Yes.
is will you be presenting that to town council
Can?
at their next meeting?
Yes. Can. When is that?
Ooh.
November something.
Kathy, I'll email you. I'll email you.
And what year
Mike,
was
you
that?
know, in the area that we're in, I have very few things. As long as it's not election day.
I'm sure council wouldn't schedule
It'd be the
their
day
meeting
before
on
election,
election
election.
day.
Is it the November 2nd, which is
I'll-
the day before election?
I'll email you and
Okay.
confirm.
I'd be very happy. And if I can maybe get exactly what the motion is again
Yep.
from the minutes would be very helpful. That's what I did before, just so,
I apologize for being so inarticulate.
no, you are, you're articulate. It's just, I want to make sure I know.
Before you move on with the agenda,
Yes.
I'd like to go backwards a second.
Okay?
Chelsea handed out this comparison,
Yes.
and I've been looking at it while everybody was talking, and the thing that struck me is that it appears that we charge less generally than everybody else. So I don't know whether this group wants to look at recommending to council that
have
we
done that
increase our
before.
fees.
Yeah.
Down
I-
to it again.
It's not across the board, but it's pretty, it seems to be a pretty good trend on here that we're charging less than everybody else. So it's up to you whether you would bring that up at a future meeting.
I think we
Or
want to
what
look
did-
through this as homework for next meeting.
So I guess I would just suggest you put it on the next agenda.
I think the last time that we did fees was a couple years ago.
At least 3.
And we did a comparison at that time with fees from other areas. So I think that The only one that I see that's not on here is Gulfport. It's a beautiful new
Port,
Gulfport.
Gulfport in the,
I will,
They have a beautiful new mooring field.
I'll see if we can get that updated.
And it would be nice to know, Mike's actually staying in it.
And so you know, all of the backup of how those numbers were derived is
It's
the
here, yeah.
attachments. You can see exactly how we got those numbers.
But I think at the time when we did look at fees, we were pretty good within it. And obviously, people have raised their fees now,
Well,
so.
and again, the beauty of dock is being able to fluctuate season, not in season, have a stagnant rate.
Well, I
have
know Gulfport is on DACWA. I know that they are. So, anyway, I think it's a good idea for us all to look through here just to see what everybody's doing, plus fees, and talk about, and maybe make that an agenda item to, however we want to say that, for next meeting.
the next meeting.
Yes.
In the process of taking over, it would still be awfully nice to have a business plan. Know what personnel we're gonna need and how much it's gonna cost, just so we'll at least have that feeling, so we don't get any surprises. And it would be awfully nice to have a business plan specifically for Harbor House, as how many people it's gonna take us and who's gonna clean the bathrooms and so forth.
Understood. Again, that's an operational issue that would fall under the town manager's purview or his designee. So that's something we can work out and
We're blind to that, is that what I'm hearing?
somewhat, yes.
Uh,
Just like staff here, no committee necessarily has any say on the staff, and albeit in-house contracted, that all falls under the town manager's purview.
Well, that's, to me, sort of counterintuitive, in that we're trying to make a decision of taking in a house, and we have no idea what it's gonna cost, and that sort of bothers me. But I guess that's the way it is.
Pending.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure I can't, I don't know why I wouldn't. Okay, is there anything further? Here we are. We had a long part on that. Okay, let's move on to the strategic plan. What is it you need with the strategic plan now? Do you need us just to pass it and then we
Yes.
review it? So we don't,
Well, adopt it, adopt this,
Adopt the
and it doesn't
plan.
necessarily have to be as is, just adopt the strategic plan, because
Okay.
again, this is a working document. And then we would take this to town council for their adoption,
okay.
and
So essentially, we haven't really even adopted it
Correct.
yet. So we
Correct.
need to do that, because I've got a lot of edits in here that we need to change.
let's accept that as, that's
So we,
perfectly
so
fine.
we can adopt it knowing that we're going to, since it's a working document, that we can, that we're going to make changes to it.
Target dates and responsibilities, of course, can change and fluctuate, but the general goals are really the important things, and that's what we set in planning sessions.
Well, all of my edits and things were target dates, whoever's responsible for them.
And that's changed since Jason has
Yes, because
transitioned
Jason
over.
is no longer in the
He's
position.
here, but
he
he's not
was.
here.
Right, he's not doing that, so, and then I had questions about simply where are we on certain of these things and whatnot, but
If you want to,
I don't know.
if you wish, this is your meeting.
Does anybody have any comments about if,
Well, essentially, if I understand right, we're basically approving this portion of it at this point in time,
This
or
and the-
adopting it,
And the goals,
and the
not
whole thing, but these areas where there are
target dates.
responsibilities, target dates, et cetera, that's obviously has to be flexible from the point of view that that can be changed.
That's correct.
anybody have any discussions on it, or?
And again, if you want to talk about this now, we can talk about it now. If you want to send me an email, you want to sit with me at some point, if you can do a work session, you're not confined to one meeting per month, although I'm setting myself up for more work, but,
Well, I had questions about some of these things, where are we on some of them? Because like
go
the ice machine, do we have the ice machine?
I know that Matanzas is selling bags of ice for $2 per
Okay.
bag.
That was a question I had. Bags of ice.
Wi-Fi's on there, but we kind of put that on the back burner for now, didn't we?
And the town's getting ready to transition to a new IT provider. So that's, I think, something that we can initiate conversations once we get them on board and they get their feet wet.
We were working on a designated federal Anchorage area. Are we anywhere close to that?
I will follow up with coastal engineering. I know that their focus.
I know
has been
that they
on-
were directed to pursue that, so
What number
we
was
haven't
that,
really
Kathy?
talked, that's number 13, under short-term growth and capacity, number 213. Under number 3, set up a kiosk dedicated to check-ins. Number 2, is that kind of gone now with DACWA?
No, Matanzas actually has a computer set up in their little front lobby.
We do,
That,
okay, because
I-
that was something that we weren't necessarily, even last meeting, we weren't necessarily. So they have a designated computer.
They have a computer,
Okay.
and I know for a fact that Patty has assisted
Okay.
voters with, on that computer with getting set up with DACA.
Okay. Number 4, safety and security. Number 1, fender improvements. Have we done the fender improvements at the dinghy dock? Austin?
Were you referring to the fender systems around the barriers?
I don't know what, it was at the dinghy dock. I think
The
it was.
dinghy dock, because they were low for the inflatables, but I think you put another rub rail a little bit lower so the inflatables.
Oh, yeah.
So the
Yeah, that was a
inflatables
while
wouldn't
ago.
come
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
I mean, I know we did this in February, so I think some of these things have been done, but I just wanted an update. And there, under number 5, number 6, weekly meet and greet.
What, communication, where are you at?
It's number 5, communication. It's number 6 under that, a weekly meet and greet. I think essentially we're on hold with any of that kind of stuff now. And that's something I think we should talk about, because I'm not sure we necessarily need a weekly one, but, you know, I know we've talked about doing something, but.
Well, hopefully, once we get, again, like technology and we start to get back to normalcy, whatever that is anymore, that can kind of be self-governed by the boaters, providing that space that's available for them to have a, you know.
Maybe what we used to do on Channel 16 on Sunday could be a setup for time on Zoom or something, now that everybody's got that going.
Those were my, just kind of checking on where we were with things. And I know we need to look at responsibility and target dates, because some of the target dates we're coming up to. So,
We'll work on updating
we can
those.
work on that, but as far as, I don't,
I'll make sure it's updated before it goes to council.
okay. But as far as the whole document, I make a motion that we accept our strategic action plan.
And I second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Finally. Since we finished this in February. Okay. So,
Hopefully, what I can do, Kathy, and I'll talk to the town manager about timing, but hopefully we can get this on their next regularly scheduled meeting in tandem
when I'm going to be
with,
there for the other thing too.
that way you
That
can
would be
answer
perfect.
questions.
Yeah, great, okay. Members, items, and reports. Mike?
Nothing? Nothing?
Sam?
Are we in South Winds this month? I didn't pick one up. Did anybody pick one up?
South Winds, okay, so the Celtic Southeast is online. The South Winds one, we reached out to him and he said he is not doing the magazine anymore.
Doing publication, okay.
So, again, hoping that through DACWA and Austin seeing and hearing in the field that, you know, there is some
There is no
patrons.
south
Do
wind.
we have a refund or anything coming, or we just?
We
paying as
pay once we get the confirmation of it. So, I know, Jenny worked with Salty Southeast Cruisers to get us on that. So we might have a little bit of budget for advertising, maybe on Facebook or elsewhere, that we can potentially work with Jenny and figure out maybe where do we want to do that this year.
Southwinds is defunct?
He said he basically wasn't doing it, still trying to recover from the pandemic.
Well, I think DACWA will help because many of these are on it. And if you're staying at places, I mean, when you bring DACWA up, it brings up everybody, so that might help us. Doug, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
I have one thing.
Yes.
One of the issues that we saw with DACWA was, and you know it's a first come, first serve, the mooring field is. This is, but it isn't a reservation system, so you're essentially requesting to stay. We do have people that request like maybe sometime in December, and so what Matanzas was instructed to do was you put them on a wait list. So when they physically come into the field is when we confirm them. So they don't have a confirmed reservation, you've just been put on a wait list. So when you do come in December, or you can call ahead, you can message, you can do whatever. We can say, yes, we do have occupancy available. And then we've already got your information on file. We'll just confirm, and you're here, you're paid, you're good to go. So that's one little hiccup that we were working through.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I'm trying to think of when I was on it, if there's, it's kind of, for the user, I think it's confusing that they think they have a reservation.
Okay, well, that's something we can work through. And I know that they're told that their reservation is not confirmed until Matanzas confirms it.
Right.
And you get the confirmation email. So, and like I said, and I see, I can log in here, Austin can log in from his phone.
I don't know if there's a way to put any wording on our page or something about this isn't an actual reservation or something. 'Cause I think it's a little confusing that it looks like you have one because you're making a reservation, but it's not really a reservation. So
Well,
I need to go on the site again and kind of
Again,
look at
any
it.
feedback is great, so.
Is there an opportunity for people to pay and check in and they're still, let's say they're coming down from Sarasota, can they pay and check in? And that way they're guaranteed, even though they won't be at the ball for another day or two or three or whatever.
That's a reservation.
Right. They can't pay until they show up physically. Okay.
I think a lot of the mooring fields are that way. I think Sarasota is, I don't know about Gulfport, but I know that
You can put
it's first
all-
come, first
You can
served.
put all
You can
your
put
information
everything
in, and you're literally on a wait list, and then you come in.
We called ahead and you can't actually make a reservation. They say, oh, we have plenty of balls, but
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't prepay.
actually
Right,
prepay
you
or
cannot
anything.
prepay.
You have to physically show up.
Pay, yep, as soon as.
Thank you, Doug and Chris, for being here, and we appreciate your dates and comments. Do you have, it's public comment, do either of you have any comment at this time? Thank you for being here, I appreciate it. Next meeting agenda, I think we're pretty much here, plus if we want to be looking at the comparisons and maybe rate, talk about rate increase or not, or, but going through this material and seeing where we want to go with that.
See if we can get you the Gulfport information to add to this packet
Would be
prior
nice.
to your next meeting.
Yeah, I don't know I know they have a really nice new mooring field there, so, and they're on DACWA, so we should be able to get that information.
Date in the next meeting, the third Wednesday, is November 18th.
Hopefully Greg will be back.
Snowed in.
Yeah. The snow there last night?
One thing that I found convenient that Public Safety Committee did yesterday was they set their agendas, and not necessarily agenda, but at least dates for the next 3 months. That way, with the holidays and then other committees maybe potentially moving their meeting dates, I just want to make sure that we do have a new member, that this meeting date is time is still good for everyone, and that if we can just confirm we're going to continue third Wednesday of the month, I can get with Eva and make sure that we have the slot secured.
Yeah. Is it good for you? Good for everybody else? What is the third Wednesday, December?
December is gonna be the 16th, so that should be
16th?
early enough before the
Yeah,
holidays.
then that's good. And the November one is too, which is great,
Yeah.
because sometimes we've run into Christmas or Thanksgiving, and ours are early enough. And January isn't an issue, I don't think.
The only thing is MLK Day,
Yeah, but that's Monday.
It'll be a Monday.
We're Wednesday, so I think we'll be good. Okay, unless there's anything else, it's 10:50 and I adjourn this meeting. Go ahead.
thank you.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Aye.
Anybody, do you have minutes to sign?